Hi, Assalamualaikum. We are from Group 2A, and today we would like to present our slide presentation about the concept of Townscape book for our further site visit under sequential study. We will present our slide based on our part that already be divided.
My name is Aina Sofia binti Hasni. Today I am going to introduce you for the concise townscape. What is the concise townscape? Concise townscape by Gordon Quillen is about how city and town can be designed to create engaging, visually stimulating and emotionally resonant environment for people. Concise Townscape is a groundbreaking book by Gordon Quillen published in 1961. Rather than focusing solely on technical or functional aspect of urban planning, Quillen explored how the physical form of a place. About Gordon Quillen, he is a British architect, urban designer, illustrator and a writer. Best known for his book, The Concise Townscape, a landmark book in urban design. Introduced the concept of townscape, focusing on how people visually and emotionally experience urban environment. His work style used sketches and visual storytelling to explain in design principle, emphasizing human scale, visual sequence, and emotional impact. The book captures interest for people, visual approach, human-centered perspective, accessible language, fresh thinking, timeless relevance, and blend of art and theory. For key terms and concepts, there are 7 concepts, which is townscape. Townscape is the visual and spatial composition of urban areas, like how buildings, streets, and spaces work together to create a rich visual environment. It is not just about individual building, but how they relate and contribute to the overall visual and emotional experience of the town. The second concept is the visual art of urban design. Quillen treats urban design as a form of visual and emotional art, not just a technical discipline. It's about shaping what people see and feel as they move through a town. Emotional response. Quillen emphasized designing a spaces that evoke emotion such as wonder, security, excitement, or nostalgia, making towns more engaging and memorable. Experience over abstraction. He critiqued the planning tendency to design cities on paper using maps and models detached from real-life sensory experience. He believed that design should consider how a place is actually perceived by a person walking through it. Sequence and rhythm. To elaborate more in later chapters, the foundation is set here. Urban environment should experience like a narrative with changes in scale, direction, and enclosure that create a story or rhythm as people move through the space. Human-centered design. Design should be grounded in how humans see, move, and feel, not just in regulation or function. It's about creating places that speak people on human level. Last one is anti-functionalism. Quillen does not reject function, but he argues that function alone is insufficient. A purely functional city is dull and soulless. A good city must also be beautiful and stimulating.
For the next slide, I would like to talk about the serial vision in this book. The concept Townscape by Gordon Quillen defines serial vision as the way sites appear one after the other as a person navigates an urban setting. According to Quillen, a place experience is derived from a number of incomplete views that arouse curiosity and expectation rather than from a single expansive perspective. He underlines how crucial it is to plan towns and cities carefully, taking into account how these successive views will affect the lives of those who live there. There are three sequences that we'll talk in this part. The first one is the Oxford sequence. Use shapes like cubes and cones to create a mysterious feelings. Each shape reveals more as you explore further. As shown in this picture, we can see that that is the city that was taken from the Oxford city, and you can see more building in cube shapes. For the second part is the East-West sequence. As a simple archway dividing the view into two areas. Moving through the archway feels like entering a new place. The third one is the Westminster sequence. It shows lots of tall things like towers and spires. Watching closely reveals interesting patterns and surprise.
Point number 5, landmarks and focal point. Visually dominant elements like Menara Kuala Lumpur help with orientation and create city identity. Masjid Jami and Dataran Merdeka serve as cultural focal points connected to Malaysia history. Point number 6, contrast and variety. Spaces like Kampung Baru highlight the contrast between modern urban grids and traditional village layouts. The journey from Bukit Bintang to Tasik Perdana offers a sensory shift from busy city life to peaceful greenery. Point number 7, texture and detail. Fine details such as material, signage, and plantings enrich the environment. Areas like Pasar Seni, Masjid India, and Kampung Baru showcase texture through architecture, street life, and local markets. The last point is anticipation and surprise. Smart spatial sequencing builds excitement. As you move from Tasik Perdana to Menara Kuala Lumpur, historic lanes open up to civic spaces. Then the iconic tower, streets like Jalan Raya offer glimpses that build up to key landmarks. First point, possessions. A space feels like a place when it's claimed or used by people. Locations like Dataran Merdeka and Pasar Seni show this well. These are not just pathways, they are filled with life from tourists, vendors, and locals, making the area feel personal and meaningful. Point number 2, possession in movement. As people move through space, they slowly take ownership of it. The routes linking Tasik Perdana, Dataran Merdeka, and Bukit Bintang create a journey. This movement helps people connect to the space, especially on foot or near the river. Point number 3, occupied territory. When people fill a space, it becomes alive. Places like Bukit Bintang and Pasar Seni are busy with markets, cafes, and public life. This visible use shows strong human presence and energy. Point number 4, enclosure and release. City spaces often shift between narrow, enclosed roads and wide, open areas. Streets in Kampung Baru create intimacy, while open zones like Dataran Merdeka or Tasik Perdana offer relief, letting people breathe and enjoy the view. Point number 5, landmarks and focal point. Visually dominant elements like Menara Kuala Lumpur help with orientation and create city identity. Masjid Jami and Dataran Merdeka serve as cultural focal points connected to Malaysia history. Point number 6, contrast and variety. Spaces like Kampung Baru highlight the contrast between modern urban grids and traditional village layouts. The journey from Bukit Bintang to Tasik Perdana offers a sensory shift from busy city life to peaceful greenery. Point number 7, texture and detail. Fine details such as material, signage, and plantings enrich the environment. Areas like Pasar Seni, Masjid India, and Kampung Baru showcase texture through architecture, street life, and local markets. The last point is anticipation and surprise. Smart spatial sequencing builds excitement. As you move from Tasik Perdana to Menara Kuala Lumpur, historic lanes open up to civic spaces. Then the iconic tower, streets like Jalan Raya offer glimpses that build up to key landmarks.
So moving on to the next slide is the content of this book. In this chapter, Cullen shifts from analysis to practical design guidance. He outlines specific methods that planners, architects, and designers can use to shape emotional and visual experience in urban space. These are the techniques or methods that were introduced from this book. The first one is the juxtaposition. The definition is to bring different elements into visual contrast, such as old, new, rough, smooth, or large and small. The effect is to spark interest and emotional response through unexpected combination. Those two pictures are the example for the juxtaposition. The next one is the here and there. Here and there are the definition to alternating areas of intimacy and openness or narrow and broad space. It creates a variety and rhythm, making the journey through a town feel dynamic. Those two pictures shows that there are building beside the road, and it shows a way leading to a bright white square. The third one is the change of level. The definition is using stairs, ramps, terrace, or slope to alter elevation. This change of level creates a dramas, layering, and depth to a townscape. Example is a staircase climbing up a terrace with a panoramic views, as you can see on the picture below. The next one is the closure and enclosure. It creates areas that feels complete and contained. The effect gives people a sense of arrival, identity, and shelter. Example is the courtyard enclosed by building on all sides. The next one is the anticipation and surprise. The definition is to design a space that suspends before revealing something striking. The effect can encourage curiosity and engagement. For example, a narrow street that suddenly opens to a rival cathedral. As you can see in this picture, a narrow street that shows into a more like building and also a color building. The last one is the repetition and rhythm. The definition is to using repeated elements to guide the eye, such as arches, trees, and windows. It effect creates a sense of order and movement. For example, is the colonnade with repeating column leading into square. As you can see on this picture, there are buildings that are same texture and color, and also shape that repeat. So for the second slide is also the method and technique that we told in this book. The first one is the scale and human dimension. The definition is to design the space and elements that match human proportion. The effect to make people feel comfortable and connected to their surroundings. The second one is the function enhanced by form. The definition is to make sure that the aesthetic experience supports the practical use. The effect to ensure that the form doesn't just look good but works well for people. For example, a shelter bench area in Wine-Prone Plaza. Whenever it's rain, people can use the shelter bench area to prevent from the rain. The next one is a noticeable absence. The definition is to deliberate gaps or voids in the built environment that highlight what is missing. The effect evokes curiosity, memory, or contemplation by drawing attention to absence. For example, a vacant lot left undeveloped in a historic district, suggesting past building or untold story. For the next one is the animism. Dynamism is designing elements that give place a sense of life, personality, and spirits. The effect create emotional connection between people and place, making environment feels alive. For example, a statue that seems to watch over a plaza, or a tree that appears central to community rituals. The next one is urbanity. The definition is the quality of a place that feels sophisticated, vibrant, and distinctly urban. The effect encourages social interaction, cultural richness, and sense of a place. For example, a lively street corner cafe with city music and people from diverse backgrounds. For the last one is the secret town. The definition is hidden or less obvious parts of a city that reveal themselves gradually. The effect spark exploration and discovery, making the urban experience more personal and layered. For example, a narrow, unsightly path leading to a tucked-away garden or courtyard.
For this slide, we are explore structure, railing, and fences, elements that are often more functional than beautiful. For structure, many buildings prioritize utility over aesthetic. Cullen reminds us that structure can still blend into their surrounding or our surrounding and looks good while being useful. For railing are placed as visual warning first, then physical barrier. A simple railing can make a big difference in safety. Fences are often built only for security, but they can disrupt view. And this slide shows that focusing only on utilities can lead to uninspired, even unfriendly space. Current message is to bring humanity back into urban design. Like Gordon Cullen critique of functional urban design, he believes cities should do more than just a word. They should inspire people. First step. Steps are important for accessibility and comfort. They must be well designed to avoid poor quality or unnecessary complexity. Black and white are used for both beauty and function. For example, it harbor or road. White wall can sign safety. It's not just about a design. It's about serving a clear purpose. The texture gives a life to a space. Stone or natural textures make place feel more inviting. This balance between utilities and enjoyment keep architect creative. For this slide, Cullen wants us to think beyond just function to create space that connect emotionally with people. Like Gordon Cullen critique of functional urban design, he believes cities should do more than just a word. They should inspire people. First step. Steps are important for accessibility and comfort. They must be well designed to avoid poor quality or unnecessary complexity. Black and white are used for both beauty and function. For example, it harbor or road. White wall can sign safety. It's not just about a design. It's about serving a clear purpose. The texture gives a life to a space. Stone or natural textures make place feel more inviting. This balance between utilities and enjoyment keep architect creative. For this slide, Cullen wants us to think beyond just function to create space that connect emotionally with people.